well met. I am your humble narrator, Amanda, here to entertain, amuse, perhaps even educate through the telling of deeds, but daring, and not so much. And all I ask in return is that you stay a while and listen. So, since I posted the very first of these videos back in Christmas 2016, I have been asked multiple times. Oh yeah, shadows. I've been asked multiple times, how do I get into this? Now, I did cover recently ways of finding your party, your group, your gaming group. And I would really strongly suggest you do find a gaming group. It's a good idea. But that's only half the answer, because yes, you need a gaming group, but you also need a handful of things to play. And to be quite honest, I really suggest you get them. What will you need? Well, the absolute basics are a sketch pad and a pad and pencil. That's the absolute total basics. And you're going to need that because you're going to need to be recording things. You're going to need to be writing down character stats, things like that. In all likelihood, you're the GM, and I would presume you're going to go into this as a player, not as a games master, because you don't have the experience to be a games master. Trust me on that. Don't fall into that trap. Your games master is probably going to give you a printout of a character sheet, which is great, except that your stats will change, your skills will change, your various values for your character will change. So my suggestion is to get just a slip cover, a cover like for inside a folder that you drop a piece of paper into. One of those, and a water-soluble felt tip pen. That way you can write in your stuff, and when it changes, you just go, rub it out, replace it. It's really simple, and it means that you're not going to end up having multiple character sheets and not remembering which one is the one that's most important. That's number one. I would also strongly suggest you buy a set of dice. Now, these are mine. I'm not sure. There we go. They were a gift from my little sister Claire. They're my set of rose quartz glass dice. They're my special dice. So in that, you'll come with a 4-sided, which is pyramid. You'll have 8-sided. You'll have a D20, 20-sided dice. You'll have 2 10s, which will represent both 1 to 10 and 1 to 100. And you will have a 12-sided dice. So in case you don't know the basic nomenclature, like 4-sided dice is called D4. D5, D6, you get me. There should also be a 6-sided dice, and mine is in a box over there with all my other dice. I have many. I have many, many dice. I strongly suggest getting a set. I don't suggest getting a set like that. They were probably quite expensive. I've never asked, and I never will. I strongly suggest you do not get these. I call this my magic dice. It's a D20. It always rolls a 20. Do you know why it always rolls a 20? Because you can't see the goddamn numbers. Don't get one of those. I also strongly suggest you don't get one of these. This is a 100-sided dice. It's a curiosity more than anything else. Like, this is really rather old. You can see that the numbers have actually worn off in places. And, don't get one of these. They're awful. Awful dice. They're very difficult to read. They roll off everywhere. They're coarse. They're gritty. They get just no. Don't do that. Don't do that. But some dice, some paper, a pencil and pen. That's your basic setup. When you're going in, when you're just trying it out and you're starting with a new group and you want to learn. A little bit further on, once you have an idea, like say the group that you play with play exclusively AD&D, I would suggest after a few months you find out which version they're running, which version they intend to keep running, and get the player's handbook for that. Don't worry about the Dungeon Master's Guide, you don't need it. Don't worry about the Monster Manual, you don't need it. You're a player, not a GM. That's basically all you need. That and an imagination, and the ability to actually string together 2 coherent sentences in a row. That's it. Really simple. Nothing more than that. And I've ran plenty of games where people didn't even have that, where people didn't even bring paper or pencils or dice, because I had them. So it really depends on on the group that you play with. Now, the other side of this is, say you are crazy like I am, and you decide, I want to run a game. I want to start out as a GM, because that is what appeals to me. This happens a lot with people who are writers or people who work in creative fields. They just can't stop creating. What do you need in that case? My suggestion would be this. You need all of that. You need dice, you need paper, you need everything the player needs, you need it too. But to really just start out with the absolute bare minimum. If you go online to the GURPS website, you'll find a thing called GURPS Lite. GURPS Lite is a stripped down, compressed version of the full GURPS basic set, which is really everything. There's one book which is characters and one book which is campaigns. You can run a campaign with just the character basic set book. The campaign basic set book is a nice addition, but you don't absolutely need it. You can fudge a lot around it. But you can do without either of those with GURPS Lite, at least for a while. It will give you just enough information to create characters, to create non-player characters, to run a game. But it'll only be the bare minimum of what you need to run a game. So it's a good way of starting out as a GM. It's pretty much everything you need for like a one-shot adventure to see if you enjoy doing it. And it's free. Odds are you have paper and pencils. You don't need to buy them. Dice, I hate to say this, but there are ways around that, not least of which are automated dice and random number generators you can get for computers. You can do it that way. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. I don't recommend it because there is something really inherently wonderful about rolling dice. Beyond that, as a GM, if you find that you really like it, I would suggest reading up about the different gaming systems. I'm a big fan of D20. I'm a big fan of GURPS. I'm a huge fan of GURPS. I like AD&D. I typically prefer 3rd edition rather than 4th, or I believe it's up to 5th now. It's been a while since I looked it up, but I did try 4th. Didn't particularly like it. I love 3rd Ed. Really love 3rd Ed. There are other systems. There's a lot of other systems. And find the one that appeals the most to you. Read about it. Go onto YouTube and watch games. People upload games. Watch one. And watch one from different campaign settings and different rule books. Now, campaign settings are something different. Those are settings for your adventures. We'll go into those at a future date, but this is just about the bare bones. And with bare bones, you can easily set an adventure in the country you live in. I'm lucky, I live in Ireland. Don't think many people have ever said that before. I'm lucky I live in Ireland. But I'm lucky I live in Ireland. There are castles everywhere. There's archaeology everywhere. There's history everywhere. We have an incredibly rich mythology and set of legends. There's a lot for me as a GM to plumb just in the Irish mythos. You go to England, you go to Scotland, you go to Wales, you got much the same. France, most of Europe has the same. Africa has amazing myths and legends and incredible history. Every country has its own history, and you can use that to your advantage. You can use that and base a game around a moment in history. Base a game around a moment in a myth. Base a game on something simple like a quest to find an item. It's fun, and it works. Anyway, I hope this was of some help to somebody. I hope it was enjoyed. If it was, well, I'll be here again next Saturday with more. In the meantime, be good. Bye for now.